Going. Good evening from the UK and welcome to Sunday Night Opens Minds live show. I'm Gloria and I have an amazing guest tonight. She was on Inception podcast a good few months ago. I haven't seen her in a while and it's wonderful to link up again. We have an amazing show this evening. But before we get there, don't forget, guys, the new podcast coming out from Open Minds is Waking the Dead Ghost Stories and Paranormal Experiences. If you have any riveting ghost stories or paranormal experiences, please email me at openmindspodcast@outlook.com. Now I've advertised my wares. Candice, welcome to the show, lovely. Welcome back to my other show.
Well, I'm delighted to be at a part of the Open Mind show, Gloria.
Oh, thank you, sweetie. Now, before we start, just in case they missed you on the last show or haven't heard about you, for me, you're an amazing person. Could you just give a brief bio of who you are, what you do? However, our topic of conversation this evening, the morning for you, is going to be Candice gives her perception on psychic abilities, and it's going to be riveting. But before we get there, could you give a brief bio, my lovely, of who you are?
A brief bio. Well, I would define myself as a growing soul, but on this earth, I've been a professional writer for longer than I care to acknowledge. I was a business journalist for many years. I did PR for a while, and I've written novels and nonfiction. All of them seem to be centered around spirituality and healing. That sort of seems to be the themes of my life. Mm-hmm. And you talk about the psychic ability. Mm-hmm. What I found is that psychic ability in this world has been trivialized and bastardized, mm-hmm. and basically reduced to nothing more than what I would call stupid psychic pet tricks. You know, give me a prediction. Tell me if I'm going to meet the love of my life and all that, fortune telling, all that kind of stuff. To me, the psychic abilities are something far richer, far deeper, far more meaningful, and something that every person has, whether or not they care to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And you talked about the ghost stories in that new podcast. If you have a paranormal experience, very often what has been engaged are those so-called psychic abilities.
Correct.
And so that would get your attention. And a lot of people have paranormal experiences precisely to get their attention. Mm-hmm. Because if you believe like I do, my perspective is that we are souls in a material, going through a material existence. Mm-hmm. Right? I like to think of consciousness, the soul, mm-hmm. as a river, a flowing stream, and everybody came from that stream. Mm-hmm. And when we're in a physical life, we step on shore for a while and have a physical life. Mm-hmm. And then when our physical bodies die, we go back into the stream and mm-hmm. become purely spirit again. But while we're in this physical existence, we're still spirit. We still long to connect with source, however you define that.
Yeah.
The great spirit, universal mind, one, mm-hmm. God, Allah, Yahweh. Mm-hmm. Pick your label, I don't care. Mm-hmm. But it is the source of all of us, our spirits. And we don't leave that source or become separate from it in this world, except to the extent that we forget and are divided from who we really are. Not just by being in a material body, mm-hmm. but by those self-judgments that hamper our connection with source. Mm-hmm. All right, with the great spirit.
Mm-hmm.
but we long for it. We may be physical beings, but we long for it.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that we get back to it and perceive it and walk with it in our daily lives and be physical as well is through those quote unquote psychic senses. All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There are connection to self, there are connection to source, and there are connection to other souls. All right.
Yeah.
And it's a connection that can be throttled back, dialed down, hamstrung, but it's always there, always nagging at us, always saying, you're something more than just a physical body with a conscious brain. All right.
Yeah.
And the lack of it really, really bugs people. They don't know it. They don't know it consciously. But at the emotional and spiritual level, they feel deprived. They feel the lack. They feel the isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole pandemic nonsense has just exacerbated that to a great extent.
Yeah.
I mean, we were always lonely and isolated, but our experience over the past 2 years has just brought us face to face with our loneliness and isolation.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying,
can I jump in there? Because would you say though, on the flip side of that, which I've been made aware of, is because being forced into that isolation and alone, many, not all, I know not all, but many have gone within and actually started to reconnect with their true self, their true who they are. I've most people that I've encountered over the past 2 years, from like, well, one type of being at the beginning, my God, when I see them now, it's such a change. And getting interested in spirituality. Would you say there's a flip side to that as well? There is a benefit there.
Oh, absolutely. Everything has a positive and a negative. All right. And often what we think of as negative is actually a positive.
Yeah.
All right. Our conscious mind is very limited. It only sees the surface. It only perceives the surface.
Yeah.
The spiritual, the psychic senses allow us to perceive the front, the sides, the back, the bottom, the top. We see the whole box.
Yeah.
Not just one side of it.
Yeah.
People are always saying, well, I don't know if this person really means what she says, or, how do I know if people are lying to me? Spirit always knows. You always know, and you can always tell through the psychic senses.
Yeah. I mean, it's a case of if we get some analogies, like when I speak on this and I say, like you go into a room or a party, or you go somewhere and there's some other people there, and you there's another being there, you're like, ooh, you just can't gravitate towards them. There's something about them, So your own psychic, whether you want to use it or not, your intuition, your psychic gift is permanently on 24/7. It's whether you pay attention to it, and many don't pay attention to it, and they override it or suppress it for a while, and then shit hits the fan because you've connected with something that may be of a lower vibration. And I'm talking Homo sapien here. So does that resonate with you, Candice?
Absolutely. And the reason that shit hits the fan for people is that their soul says, acknowledge me, recognize me. I am you. You are me. I will not be denied. And so shit hits the fan, but it's not being done to us. We are using the energy of our spirit and of our heart, which is magnetic energy, not electric energy. We are both. We are electromagnetic beings, not just electric. And that magnetic part of the heart works in tandem with the electric part of the spirit to draw to us that quote unquote shit that forces us to go within, to acknowledge greater realities, to realize that we're not just physical beings walking around flukes of evolution or whatever it is, but that we are spiritual beings in a physical existence for reasons that we don't know consciously, but we do remember subconsciously and unconsciously, or emotionally and spiritually, respectively.
And the you know, for example, we all sort of say about another being like the personality traits. Well, to the true self within, there are some traits, and it's telekinesis, psychometry, mediumship, remote viewing, and all of the above. And all of it's a natural, innate thing. And if we could just stay there for a sec, how because you said in the introduction how we deny it, or we just don't see it on the individual basis. But people will say, well, I've never seen it. Could you give some examples? I mean, I'll throw one out because it's the easiest one, and you know, you're the guest, so I'll make it slightly harder. You know, like because I'm like that. You know me, Candice. You know, like you think of someone, guys, could be your child, your partner, a friend, and the next thing the phone rings. It's the most basic evidential thing. It's not a coincidence. And this could go on and on. So there's a basic. So you're not even aware. You just follow. Oh, I was just thinking of you. And your mind just shuts it off again. That's you trying to go, hello, I'm coming out. Have you got any other analogies like that, more likely grandiose than what I just said?
Well, while I'm trying to think of one, let me talk to you when you talk about psychometry or remote viewing.
Yes, do, please.
Actually, that I know of, there are 4 channels of, we'll call it non-physical information, all right? Psychic information.
Yeah.
There is soul vision. That's remote viewing. Remote viewing is what you do with soul vision. But guess what? You could also have remote feeling, because there is soul feeling, where and that's psychometry. When you pick up an object and you get impressions off of it, you are using soul feeling to do psychometry.
Yes.
All right. And then there is something called soul awareness. People tend to lump soul feeling and soul awareness together and call it clairsentience. But actually, soul awareness is a separate channel of non-physical information, and it just simply it becomes an awareness. You just know something or are aware of something. Don't know how you know it, but you know it.
Yeah.
All right. And then there's something called clairaudience or clear hearing, which really is what I call soul understanding, because it unfolds for most people as a sequential understanding in their consciousness, their mind, or it can actually be hearing voices in your so-called in your head or outside of your head. In the film Ghost, the dead hero of the story got to the so-called fake medium through clairaudience. She started hearing him, which she was faking before, but she wasn't faking when she was actually hearing him talking to her.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, that's ironic on that. That was funny, that part. But most mediums that don't even know that's the path they're going down, you know, they hear the voices and they go, no, it's same thing. No, it's not true. It's not true. And that voice is in the head is a very common thing. And they try to block it out. I must be ill. I must be crazy. And I found that the film Ghost, when she was faking it, I mean, what do they say? Fake it till you make it. Many people hear the voices, and if they don't shut themselves down, then society, family will shut you down. In my case, you know, I was told I had schizophrenia, because that was that. Obviously, I knew it wasn't, but that's a diagnosis. But that can shut many people down. So I just wanted to throw that in there for anyone in the audience that's becoming aware of spirit or the psychic gifts within. Please do go on, Candice.
Well, let's talk about those voices that you might be hearing inside your head or just outside your head. What are they telling you to do? All right. What are they talking to you about? Are they telling you to be self-destructive or harm other people? If that's the case, then you probably have a problem. All right. But what if those voices are just bringing you information or trying to uplift you and support you. Often people can use their quote unquote psychic abilities to get in touch with their spirit guides. It's great. And the spirit guides are not there to do for you. They're there to help you do for yourself. They're there to offer you options. But the only way you're really going to communicate with them is through those, what I call soul senses. All right. So when Jana and I, my late wife, and I were, well, Jana was the teacher. We were running a school. We would get phone calls and saying, oh, do you do predictions? I say, no, prediction is pointless in a universe based on free will. Yeah. Because you can make a quote unquote psychic prediction that can be perfectly accurate in the minute you uttered it. Yes. But 5 minutes later, intent can change on any person involved in that prediction, and the outcome becomes completely different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So why bother to make a prediction? Yeah. You can talk about, well, if people continue with the same intent, this is what is likely to result. All right. Yeah. But it's nothing is fixed. I want to throw this thought out to you and all of us who are watching this show. Absolutely nothing is fixed in stone. And I am including the past as well. All right. Nothing is etched in concrete. Nothing. If it were, we would not have free will. I can't tell you how many of my own and others' past lives where we've gone in and it's been such a horrible situation that we just go, screw it, we're going to change this. And with the permission of all souls involved, we do a different past life, and that becomes a healing.
I mean, that is another area that is becoming, and many are becoming more aware of, about how that you can actually change a past, even a recent past or a memory. You have the power to do all of that. That is something that I'm starting. I mean, I've been aware of it for a while, but I'm starting to hear people touch upon this now. So I'm really glad that you have as well. How the power that we have is, I will say, you have no idea how powerful you are. If you knew how powerful you were, you would take a hell of a lot more responsibility in your thoughts, your actions, and your words and your emotions. I don't want to stay on that for too long, because I really want to go into all the gifts. Well, as we say gifts, I mean, that word for me, even, it's not a gift, it's who I am. You know, as a medium or what, it's just who I am. And even the word medium, you know, I feel like that needs to be thrown to the wind at some point. But could you talk just a little bit more on how, a small section of how you can change past experiences? That would be helpful for the audience.
Okay. Think about this. The past is never over until your feelings about it change.
Good one.
What keeps us in the past is feelings of whatever the feelings were, and they keep running around in this vicious circle within our awareness. You know, the time you were humiliated in 3rd grade, or the time that the popular girls in the clique in high school, or didn't include you in, and you feel worthless, or just that an inch high. You just feel like a worm. All right. What keeps you locked into those feelings? All right, people, that's the 64,000 or 64,000 pound question. All right, what keeps us locked into feelings that keep us locked into the past? I'm here to tell you that your consciousness is a field of vibrating energy. If it were perfectly healthy, all of it would vibrate at the same frequency, and you would have this connected emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical energy field. The problem is, and the emotional and the physical fields are magnetic, The mental and spiritual are electric.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Most of us do not acknowledge magnetic energy.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is that we have a misunderstanding, whether as a child or as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
We have a trauma. We have something that scared us, whatever.
Yeah.
It was emotional and it was overwhelming. And in order to make sense of it, we judge. And who we judge is us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I'm helpless.
Mm-hmm.
I'm angry. I'm
Mm-hmm.
unworthy. I'm whatever. And that judgment sticks in the magnetic, unconscious, subconscious, emotional part of our being.
Mm-hmm.
And it filters into the physical too. This is where the emotions intersect with the physical and cause physical dis-ease.
Yeah.
If we want to truly change and evolve from the past, be fully into the present, and have a joy about the future, quote unquote, what we need to do is find and release ourselves from those self-judgments.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everything changes as soon. And that is in the emotional body, the subconscious. It's
Mm-hmm.
the one part of self that most therapy, whether it's traditional or alternative,
Mm-hmm.
most therapy tends to ignore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the one part of self where healing begins.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is beautiful. Do go on. I'm
well,
loving this.
When we heal a self-judgment, however small,
Mm-hmm.
it causes ripple effects throughout our energy fields and throughout everybody else's energy field,
Mm-hmm.
because we are all interconnected at the emotional and spiritual level.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly enough, it also heals source.
Mm-hmm.
So those who are, shall I say, religiously or spiritually minded often think, well, I don't have anything to give to God. Yes, you do. In addition to love, you have your own healing, because as we always say, as above, so below. Well, as below, so above. It is a two-way street.
Yeah.
When we heal ourselves at the emotional and spiritual level, we heal God and all of the multiverse. All right? That's what we offer. And it reinforces other people's desires and intents and actions in healing self.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
most-
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just so intrigued. I'm in there. I just got to have. I'm interviewing you, so I've got to ask some really good questions. I just listened to you for hours. I want to ask about the healing. I recently in the groups and when we do our in the groups of conversation, I see also self-value as a form of healing. We don't have any self-value, so then past experiences we've had, we keep regurgitating the emotion, everything, and living it. We can change that, and what that past experience is, we have no value of ourselves at that point in that experience. I'm stupid, I'm useless, I'm no good, no one likes me, no one loves me, and all the rest and beyond. But when you start to work on what I call the self-value, that is part of the healing. And most people that still live in this trauma space, if someone compliments them, they normally will do something amazing and help anyone around them. But you try and give them a compliment back or gratitude, they don't deserve it. So I normally catch them on that one. I'll hit them with a compliment, and you can see them cringe with this belief that, and I say, this is where you need to heal, to self-value yourself. Does that resonate with you along with the healing?
Well, that's the essence of healing. All right.
Oh, well, there you go.
If you have that, where, and believe me, even the most damaged people like narcissists,
yeah,
a narcissist is desperately trying to cover up a great big hole of self-loathing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So where you have that is exactly where you have self-judgments and vows, which is a self-judgment that's been overlaid with a denial, which is even worse. All right.
Yeah.
So you automatically heal every time you release even the smallest self-judgment. And the more self-judgment you release and let go and exchange with unconditional love from God or source or whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
the more you automatically heal, and the less self-loathing or self-doubt or whatever
Mm-hmm.
you experience.
I'm with you.
Healing is automatic. We are, at essence, we are God stuff, all right? We are love. Everything is love. But we don't recognize it as love, and we can't feel it as love because of self-judgment. It's like the fly in the ointment, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the turd in the punch bowl, all right? It gums up the works. It keeps us from recognizing our soul senses, our psychic senses. They're on all the time, all
Yeah.
right? We're always getting that intuitive, invisible information.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we block it out through conditioning and programming. Well, it's not logical, so it can't be valid. And then we also block it out because of the self-judgments in our own energy field, which clog our energy field.
Yeah.
If we think of our energy field as that stream, I talk about that river,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you can think of self-judgment as boulders, rocks, trash, debris, tree trunks, all the stuff that fills a river and blocks up the channel, the flow.
Mm-hmm.
The more we pull those self-judgments out, the more that flow begins to run stronger and cleaner and quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And we raise, consciousness raising at a mental level is simply, oh, I'm going to be angry because I don't want to be a victim. Well,
Mm-hmm.
consciousness raising at the emotional, spiritual level is releasing self-judgment,
Yeah.
self-doubt, and
Yeah.
automatically raising your vibrational rate because
Yeah.
you're no longer hamstrung by those particular vows or self-judgment.
Yeah. I
And
mean, can I just jump in there? I mean, I'm going to give one for anyone in the audience who will watch this, either going to watch it live now or later on a rerun on YouTube or anywhere. Is I remember I had a trauma. I had a memory of a very traumatic experience. Well, it seemed traumatic, okay, and it was of my father dying. Okay, I got the police to break down the door. I knew something could happen. I got in, and my father had passed. He was on the bed, and anyway, and then I carried this. I don't know. It's 15 years now. I don't know how long before the actual release of it. And I thought, every time I sort of went, oh yeah, that was sad. I thought that was it, but hell no, hell no, it wasn't what I thought it was. This so-called trauma I thought I had, because I hadn't dealt with finding him really, the emotionally, I'd never grieved even due to social determinants and people around me. I wasn't sort of allowed to grieve the grief. It stayed as it was, and then one day an occurrence come up, an opportunity, and then all of a sudden it just come up by itself. And I was fortunate to be with somebody qualified to be with. And I started, and I could feel this fear. And she was a clinical psychologist. And I said, oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. It's come up. I don't want to suppress it. What do? I have an awareness. It was, long story short, once I allowed that fear and that trauma to come up, and I just I was crying, I was sad, the emotions would go, and then all of a sudden, boom, I started laughing and smiling, and there was something else I'd forgotten had happened at the same time. And I was talking about, because I saw my father in spirit, I was speaking to him, and everything was okay. I've got goosebumps now. Thank you very much. And it was okay. And we parted. He was still there. We parted. Oh, here they go. We parted like that. It was joyous. And then I had a realization. Oh my God, this energy had hid that beautiful experience. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So because I dealt with that and let it come out, my past experience changed. what I perceived to be a negative was actually an amazing. I totally forgot that I'd spoken to my father in spirit form, and as a medium over the years, I talked to whoever comes through. But this was special. Is that the sort of thing you're talking about? Because
that's the sort of thing that there is a way to do that, not have it hit you out, blindside you.
Yeah.
Okay.
This did blindside me. It needed to come up. I think it was hidden. It was hidden for many, many years, and I wasn't even aware of it. There's another aspect. We think we're aware. I've dealt with. I've done the work. No, you haven't, because they will pop up, and you go, what the hell is that? So it was boom, and I dealt with it on the spot. I had to. I didn't have a choice.
Well, let me give you another example. Jana was working with a woman who was convinced that her problem was with her mother, and she'd had lower back pain for most of her life.
Yeah.
All right. She was convinced, because she did not get along with her mother.
Yeah.
Well, when they went into the session and started uncovering what was really going on, it turned out that her problem was with her father, that she had an issue with her father. I don't know what it was, because she wasn't my client, but we did talk about it afterwards. Jana and the woman and we were just all sitting and chatting around. And once she resolved her issue with her father and the self-judgments that had arisen as a result of that interaction.
Yeah.
I mean, she literally got up from the massage table, which is where we do the therapy.
Yeah.
And her lower back pain vanished. And I checked in with her 2 years later, and I said, how's your lower back pain? She said, it hasn't come back.
Oh, bless. Wonderful.
So the whole point is that what we think we know in our conscious mind is, unfortunately, it could be, if we weren't stuffed with self-judgment, the thing that keeps us so separate consciously from what's going on subconsciously or emotionally and unconsciously spiritually are all those self-judgments. They just gum up the connection. All right.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't have an amazing, when my father was alive, I didn't have an amazing relationship with him. However, he later on in life saved my life, because I was going through some real torture by somebody else, and he stopped it eventually. So I didn't have an amazing, but when he passed, all I remember is this: I loved him dearly, and there was this grief that I didn't know what to do with. So it was all masked up, and I did have self-judgment. If I'd got there earlier, why didn't I check on him? And I'd spoken him to the day before. And why didn't I get him to the doctors? That all starts, and it just stayed like this blur for many years. And then when it come up, it freed me of all the self-judgment as well, because I was laughing with joy that I had seen my father in spirit, and we were cool. He was stood next to me, and he knew, and I was saying, I've forgotten, I love you, I forgive you, I hope you forgive me. That sort of thing you've always wanted to say to someone, after they're gone, oh, it wasn't worth being angry with them. That released me from that one. So that was the joy for me. The self-judgment just dropped away.
Well, that's the whole point. That's what everybody needs for themselves. Is it's always worth it. Again, it doesn't matter if the person is in a physical body or not in a physical body, right? It's never too late to resolve. It's better if you can do it in physical body. It's helpful.
Absolutely.
But if you can't, you can always go and call them to you in spirit and talk to them. Whether you feel it, see it, hear it, know it, understand it, whatever channel of intuitive communication is natural and easiest for you to use. There's no one better than the other. All right. They're all channels of intuitive communication. Just use whichever one works for you. All right. Because if they don't have a physical body, that's the only way you can communicate with them.
Yeah, it is. And even what those that, you hear it all the time, they don't believe in psychic gifts, or they poo-poo it, but normally after a loved one makes the transition to the other dimension, they're in their dreams. They go, oh, I dreamed of my mum, I dreamed of my dad, my aunt, and my sister. I dreamed. And still, the communication's there, but still they then poo-poo it off because they've been indoctrinated to say, even though they've been indoctrinated to, especially in Christianity, to say, this is not real. But even though the whole basis of Christianity, the fundamental aspects of it is spiritual, with the teachings of this man, Jesus, and resurrection. Hello, how are you? So yeah, it's about, so even though, I had to come to a point myself, well, when I realized that the beliefs I had and the self-judgments I had were not even mine, they were somebody else's judgment of me. There's another aspect, is that not, Candice, that we say, when you come to the realization, well, I got another one. Always told I was stupid. So stupid that when I left school, I couldn't really read, write, or spell. But when I broke that, because I believed it, when I broke that, I hit university 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So who's stupid? I can't be stupid because I can do that. But I had to work on that. And that's like, so these things suppress us down, don't they? Their beliefs and self-judgments. But I've got to say, the self-judgment you have on yourself are not even your own beliefs. They're somebody else's beliefs. Someone else's judgment on you.
That you have taken and made your own by accepting, yes. But this is not a conscious process, right?
No, it's not.
This is an emotional process.
Yes.
And the only way, it's sort of like conditioning and programming, right? Mm-hmm. That's someone else trying to, make you behave in a certain way or think a certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a self-judgment that's like vaguely related, you become, what I say, vulnerable to conditioning and programming.
Yes. Yeah.
But the more you release self-judgment, the more you let go and let your own intuition in and pay attention to it and respect it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want a perfect example of what intuition can do with you, think back to the tsunami in Indonesia in 2004. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All the clueless humans were on the beach, and all the animals started trekking to high ground.
Yeah.
And they did that about half an hour before that tsunami, that wave came in.
Yeah.
And they did it because their intuition said, danger, get your ass out of here.
Yeah.
So they did. And the humans, if the humans had been paying attention, they would have hiked to higher ground too, but they didn't.
No.
They didn't pay attention. It's not logical, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant to be logical.
Mm-hmm.
We have rational, and both are equally valid. I mean, I want someone to be very left brain if they're designing a bridge or a building. Okay, that's an exercise in left brain, and you got to be precise.
Absolutely, yeah.
But equally important, we try to use the left brain to approach matters of the heart and spirit, and it doesn't work.
Never.
The heart and spirit don't care what the mind is telling them is appropriate or inappropriate or normal. And they're saying, I don't care. All right. I feel the way I do. I believe the way I do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's me. That's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And only if you approach it's a non-rational. There's rational and there's non-rational. Both are equally valid. Don't try to use one when it's not the appropriate approach. All right?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of the paranormal experiences, psychic encounters that we have, whether it be ghosts or spirits of loved ones and the information we get, or ET, or it doesn't really matter. I know I can't make sense of it. I don't even try. It's impossible. Because I know if I try in the past, I would try and go. I couldn't. It was like, what do you call it? Cognitive dissonance. The left brain goes zzz, it can't. So it's an impossibility. But that is something about what I've said a few times on the shows this week in different contexts, that you can't use old tools of consciousness in a new experience or a new timeline or a new interaction within the paranormal world. You can't.
Well, let me jump in here.
Good.
And suggest a way for you to help your conscious mind, your mental body, the rational part of you, make peace with the non-rational. And recognize the value of the non-rational, because the rational part will dismiss it and say it's not, it's not logical, it's invalid, it's blah, blah, blah. All right. This is how I got my left brain to make peace with all this stuff. What does the left brain want most of all? It wants data. It wants information.
Yeah.
And it believes that you get data by reading books, talking to experts, doing experiments, blah, 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 and getting the results. And that's data.
Yeah.
What I told my left brain and what my left brain has found out is that the right brain, the intuitive side of part, is also a source of data. Inner data about yourself, outer data about other souls and their intentions, other stories. And my left brain went, hey, you're right. This is great. I've got more sources of data than I ever thought possible. So you just tell your left brain, hey, cool your jets, pay attention, and get more data. And once it did that, it said, wow, this is great. Maybe I don't need those quote unquote experts quite so much.
It's amazing. I love that analogy, and I'm going to plagiarize it and steal it. Okay, just so you know, don't sue me. I'm going to plagiarize that and bring it into the group. But it's absolutely correct, because left brain consciousness is just data. Right brain consciousness is intuitive, creative, expanding, and all the rest of it.
Well, you can put it this way. Left brain data is knowledge. Right brain data can bring wisdom.
And knowing. I would add knowing to that, because there's a knowing where because I can now, at some point, I don't know when it happened, but I can define something as knowing, not a belief. I now that, like people say, what do you believe? I say, I don't believe anything. I don't believe anything. I don't. I have truths that come from a knowing. Like, I don't believe I can talk to dead people, in brackets. I know. It's a knowing and a truth. That for me, there's a difference. And I found by, through, I suppose you're going to say, through the process of self-realization, I got the left brain consciousness and the right brain to like merge and have a chat with each other somehow along the road. But that's the major difference by merging the left hemisphere and the right, that it's a knowing. I'm not a belief. Does that make sense to you, what I'm trying to explain?
It also tells me that you're strong, if not strongest, in that soul sense called what I call soul awareness. It's the knowing. Things come to you as a knowing.
It's a knowing. That's always a knowing now. Never used to be. It's a knowing. Go, oh, okay. And like I've always known it. And that's the sort of thing I teach in my groups. Like, well, I'm harsh. I say, you know who you are, and you can do it. So just shut up. Just do it. And they go, and they do it. And I come in like slap, 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 slap. Not physically, by the way. Just do it, it. And artists will go, oh my God, I knew that. And I go, yeah, here we go again. And it's a would you say, well, we just hold there for a sec. When you get this knowing, when it starts to come in, left brain consciousness, right brain consciousness, when it starts to come and it starts two energies communicate. I mean, it's exciting. Then what happens to this intuitive being, is it not? And the things that you go on, I mean, for me, it was like going on adventure after adventure after adventure. I mean, does that resonate with you?
Well, it will resonate with anybody who is strong in soul awareness, that knowing. All right.
Yeah.
But again, there are four that I know of. There are four channels of intuitive information, what we call psychic senses. Everybody has different strengths. Like some people are strongest in that knowing, and then comes that feeling, and then comes maybe that vision, and then comes that understanding or clairaudience. Everybody has a different soul sense strength order.
Yes.
And that definitely shapes personality and how you perceive, and how you process and receive any kind of information, whether it's physical information or non-physical information. So that knowing is my third strongest soul sense. My fourth is feeling. My first is vision, and my second is understanding. All right. So for me, what would come in the same way, it would come in a visual form.
Yeah.
It might even come as that knowing. My knowing has gotten a heck of a lot stronger since I met with Janice, got involved with all this stuff. It became a lot stronger. Even my feeling, my weakest, is gotten a lot stronger. And the wonderful thing about the knowing and the feeling is that they are very quick. All right. It's instantaneous. You just know something, or you just feel something.
It's spontaneous. It's just, there's no time. There's no boom.
Whereas the vision and the understanding are kind of like the tortoise. They get there in the end, but boy, does it come on now.
Years ago, I used to be. It was well, when I was especially young, it was vision after vision after vision. It was vision. It was emotional. It was senses. You know, spirits walking through me, sort of thing, and all of that for years. They went on for years. For years that went on. And I would say it's only in you know, the recent decade that the knowing, and it come in like droplets at first, knowing come in, and then I don't know how it happened. It's just okay, it's there.
Well,
I went through years of the visuals and all of that. I mean, it felt like forever, actually. Yeah.
Well, let me explain something. You know, the whole thing about how the East is different from the West.
Yeah.
It's because Eastern people are strongest in that they're predominantly, most people in the East are strongest in that soul knowing and feeling. That's why they prize harmony and consensus, for the simple reason that a person who is strong in feeling, loud arguments or, you know, really sort of strong emotions can be physically painful. So they want to prize the consensus. In the West, we're strongest in that understanding and that vision. And so we have the kind of debates and the arguments and the this, that, and the other. I mean, that's just the way we are. In the East, since they're strong in that knowing and that feeling, they discount those intuitive senses because it's so natural, it's so everyday that they don't think it's anything special. So they prize the vision. All right.
Yeah.
And all those Eastern traditions that the Westerners learned about and came back and started talking in the you know, the 70s, 60s, and 70s. The transcendental movement about, oh, you have to have a vision. You have to have a vision. Well, that's an Eastern thing. You can also have a feeling that's equally spiritual. You can have a knowing that's equally spiritual, and understanding. All right. It's just a different channel of communication, but there's no one that's better than the other.
Absolutely.
But when your soul or your spirit guides are trying to get your attention, they will go to your weakest channel or your weaker channel. And it will seem singular to you because that's not how you usually on a day-to-day basis get your intuitive information. So it stands out. And you go, ooh. For me, it would be, ooh, I got a feeling or a knowing. Whereas for Jan, it would be the opposite. Ooh, she got a vision or an understanding because she's strong in feeling and knowing.
Yeah. I mean, it's you know, when I can look back over the many decades being here, and you know, I can map out how there was like block sets of each one, how it worked, and how they then would start to blend together. I mean, there was a period in time from childhood right up to, it really went on to the 20s, early 20s. Precognition was vivid, accurate, everything. It was.
Well, when you say precognition, was it a vision, a knowing, a feeling, an understanding? Because they're all forms of precognition. What kind was it for you?
It seemed like the lot. It was. I knew. I just knew. Don't mess. I'm not gonna. Don't need you to say you like it or you don't like it. I knew. Just a knowing, and
that's the soul awareness.
Yeah, and I remember, and I used to go around back in the day when I was younger going, why have I got this? I'm either cursed or blessed. I never knew, because there was sometimes I could change an outcome. I don't know how that could work. Well, to a certain extent, like delay someone's trip, stop someone going somewhere where there was a major disaster. I mean, I don't know. But then it tailed off and one of the others comes through. It's like, sensing. There was a lot of sensing. So that got heightened. So it's like a roller coaster, like going in school. You're being trained through a lifetime, not only in the human experience and how to be and to modify and evolve as a Homo sapien, but for me, it was like the spiritual at the same time. And I never got attracted to any one thing. I just let it go and let the next one come. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that just happens to be my path.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in standing on platforms. I'm more of a rescue medium when needed, or I just assist other mediums to raise their frequency, to connect, to get a stronger, to connect to themselves, to get the stronger vibration, to be aware of who they truly are through the process of mediumship, something like that. I don't know how to explain what I'm doing, but it's happening because it's a knowing. I don't actually know what I'm doing, to be honest with you, half the time, because it's new information.
Mm-hmm.
And to articulate new information or to take an old model like mediumship and to enhance it, there are no words or ways to explain exactly. I have no idea what I'm doing, not in a negative, but I mean, it's just happening. It's just
right.
occurring. So I don't
and that's another hallmark. That's another hallmark of the soul aware person, is it's spontaneous, and routine is the death. The boring is the death.
Yes.
They don't want to be bored.
No, I can't. I don't like. I mean, I haven't argued or got angry. I don't know when, but I can go back and remember way back. I remember shouting at one of my children one day. God, this was years ago, and I was shouting, and as I was shouting, I started pain. I didn't want it. Pain. The body was hurting. This is not who I am. I don't want to do this no more. I've had enough of playing that. And I remember that. And now I'm in a space where people do attempt to press my buttons. And I'm like, right, what's on next? It's just like, don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it is very freeing when you resolve some of those judgments and the old buttons don't work as well. And
I don't feel I need to defend myself no more. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Yes, because when you are more at peace with yourself, what other people you begin to recognize that what other people think of you is none of your business, and it doesn't matter anyway.
No, it doesn't matter. It's their opinion. Something to do. None of my. I agree with you. I mean, we stayed on that a bit. It's been so informative. I'm just learning so much from you. I love this. You're my peer in this field because you run a school on all this stuff. So I'm getting a free class here, and so are you guys when you watch this. For the latter part of the show, what would you like to share with me, obviously, and the future audience that's going to watch this show? What else would you like to share about the psychic gift, if we call it that?
Well, they're really part of who you are. as a created soul. All right. They're not something that's separate. They're not something that's given only to a special few.
Yeah.
And they will be with you whether or not you choose to pay attention to them and use them. They might even, like they did to Gloria, they might even blindside you.
Yeah.
And the question becomes, why not make use of these extraordinary abilities?
Absolutely.
They're only extraordinary in the sense that they're very ordinary, but they're extraordinary in the sense of how they will lead you to who you really are, whose you really are, and give you, everybody talks about empowerment.
Yeah.
Well, they used to. Now they're not talking about it anymore. I find that very, very interesting.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
They're not talking about empowerment anymore because the whole pandemic nonsense has been one long exercise in disempowerment. And the soul senses, when you get those intuitive messages, whether they're visions, knowings, understandings, feelings, or little chaps in your ear, those are the most empowering thing that you can do for yourself. Because suddenly you're in charge of what you believe, rather than someone else saying, believe this. This is the only valid belief. Everything is a belief, all right? The belief that drugs can heal your body is a belief, all right? The scientific method is basically a belief, a way of looking at things, it's a reductionist method of trying to make sense of the world around us, all right? The entire construct is, the Matrix talked about everybody as being part of a construct, but the construct is not as limited as the Matrix would have you think. The construct is the multiverse. Everything that is and exists is God, really. Everything. But there is an originating consciousness. There is originating love. We haven't talked too much about love.
Let's talk about love. Let's talk about love, Candice.
Well, love is sort of the overriding theme of most of the books and movies in our world, all right? It doesn't really matter what society you go to. We're all trying to figure love out. And I'm here to tell you that love is really easy to figure out. You'll know it when you feel it. And there's one word for it: unconditional. Everybody craves it. Everybody wants to be loved for just who they are, not something somebody tells them they have to be or should be or ought to be or must be or whatever. They just want to be loved as they are. And guess what? You are loved just as you are.
Absolutely.
But once again, those self-judgments rear their ugly heads. You cannot feel this love, and if you feel it, you don't trust it. It's going back to when you talked about the compliments that you give a person and then they cringe or they do something. That is going right back to the inability of you to feel your own love for self and for Source's love for you. Again, it's all back into you are judging yourself in ways that you have no conscious recognition of. Those keep you from feeling that unconditional love, from bringing it into your life, and from accepting your own love for you. So I would say to you, there's no one way to do this. But if you really want to, just simply ask in your heart, I want to feel unconditional love. I want to know it. I want it to be a part of who I am and my life. And it will open up. It may not be instantly. It may take years, but down the road or right now, whenever, that will be more present in your life. All right. There are ways that I have helped people do this. Mostly I'm writing about it now with my novels that seem to be tracking my own healing, which is not surprising because they're novels about healing. So
there you go. I mean, before we close, I mean, that was beautiful. I love that. I mean, it's just, my experience of the word love, the true love, what we now, and I can only say unconditional love, was through the process of self-realization, and I have never encountered it any other way. But what that did what it's done, my grammar sucks tonight, I do apologize, Sunday night, been busy all week. What that's done, when I meet new people, that love, it mirrors in another, I recognize it in another to varying degrees. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And I best buddies immediately, just love them. But it's not the human love. Does that resonate with you? It's different.
Well, it's love that humans desperately want,
Yeah.
but will not allow themselves to have because they judge against themselves.
Yeah.
It could be human love every bit as it is divine love or source love or whatever you want to call it. We just cut ourselves off from it. And then it becomes painful to us to acknowledge it. The reason, if you look in history and you look at spiritual writings, while all these saints and sinners and had so much, it was such a trauma to receive and perceive that God was present and loving them. The only trauma there was not in God's love, but was in their resistance to it, not because they're evil or bad, but because they have judged against themselves.
Yeah.
That is what sets up the resistance.
Yeah.
Because if you loved yourself, then those judges, which literally take on a life, they could become little judges they're telling you you're bad, you're stupid, you're useless, you're worthless, you're guilty, you're ugly, you're fat, you're this, you're that.
I was raised in Christianity, and in Christianity, I from the get-go, if you're raised in Christianity, you're already programmed. You were born with sin. Well, I haven't done anything. I'm a child. Yeah, you're born with sin, and you've got to do this, that, and other to get to heaven. So you're condemned as soon as you're born here. Whatever faith you born into. Yeah.
Well, the only thing that really is condemning you is the self-judgments of those who wrote that doctrine.
Absolutely. And
and then just keep this in mind. Dogma is human-made.
Yes.
All right. Love is divine. It transcends dogma.
It does, big time. I'm telling you, this concept that, this beautiful God, this kind God, I don't mean a man with a beard, by the way, and I'm talking about in reference to the religion that I was raised in. I'm not a Christian. I respect anyone who is, because to do good to your neighbors, to love, to forgive, to all of these beautiful aspects, and then go rape, go pillage, go destroy, go kill. Everyone's going to hell but the special few. That's when I really started to study comparative religions and everything else. That broke me away from the dogma, because it was paradoxical. It was obvious that this source tells you to go and do all these kind acts according to man's word, and they say it's God's word. However, these men go and do the total opposite in the name of this God, which is an atrocity. So that broke the dogma for me. That it was using discernment, I suppose, really, back in the day.
Yeah. But the problem is, for people, they throw the baby out with the bathwater. All right. Human beings, even God, no one is perfect. If we were perfect, we wouldn't be eternal. All right. Because perfection is an ending. Yeah. All right. If you're perfect, what else is there? We're not perfect. So you discern that what people say about God is limited by their own perceptions and self-judgments.
Yes, I agree.
Don't take their word for it.
No.
Don't throw God out, but don't take their word for it. Your search is to find your experience of God, whatever it is. Yeah, it's just as valid as anybody else's.
Yeah. No, I'm in total agreement. I mean, I feel like we've covered some really good areas for anyone who's going to watch this show on a rewind and is seeking, just a little bit of information. And I say to anybody, if it resonates with you, take it with open arms. If it doesn't resonate with you at the moment, just put it to one side. Just put it to one side and keep doing what you're doing on your path, wherever it takes you. Live your joy, live your peace, stop the fear, do what you love. I always say to people, just do what you love. What do you love doing? Oh, I haven't done this yet. Well, go and do it now. Just to bring the after the last 2 years, it's been a toughie for the whole of the planet. Now start doing what you love. Make your choices. Many don't seem to realize they have free will, free choice. You have a choice to do whatever you want. I do not recommend you do anything that's detrimental to another being or animal. No, I'm just saying, if you want to be happy, you can be happy. The only one that's stopping you is you. And my God, I learned that the hard way. Going back in the day, it's not fair. And I was told the only one stopping you is you. And I'd go, fuck off, no, and it's true. Change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that includes yourself.
Definitely. It starts with you.
Yeah.
In order for your world to change, you change first. Absolutely. Then your world changes.
It changes, and it can change really quick as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where did that one come from? It's like miracle after miracle. So yeah, change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Candice, we're going to have to do this again because I love listening to you. You're elegant. I'm going to plagiarize everything you said.
Well, believe me, wherever it came from, it wasn't me. All right. Yeah. Somebody was just sort of saying, "Oh, she's open. Let's drop something in there." And see.
I know that. Yeah, I know that feeling. But I'm plagiarizing a lot. Absolutely. And you're going to have to come back on the shows, Inception as well, and you're going to send me a ghosty story. Are you not?
It's not really about a ghost so much as it is about just a quote unquote paranormal, which I would say that our definition of normal is way too limited if we keep labeling that stuff as paranormal.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you're right. I haven't got an answer. You're correct. That's all I can say. Yes.
That's what your show is about. Is letting people know that this stuff is not as unusual or paranormal as again, we are conditioned and programmed to think.
All right. What about, hold on. Can I say the new normal?
There you are.
You happy with that? The new normal.
Or just say, hey, that's part of who we are. All right.
Hey, anyway.
So-called primitive societies understood that. Yeah. They understood that all this stuff, all this woo-woo stuff, is just part of being a spiritual being in a human physical body, right? You can't leave. You can deny it. You can ignore it. You can poo-poo it, but you are still a spirit in a physical body.
It's not going to go away. On that note, thank you so much, Candice. We will do this again soon.
Well, thank you, Gloria.
Oh, no, it's always a pleasure to be around you. You're such a sweetie. And to the audience, as I said, take what resonates and what doesn't, put it to one side. I'm Gloria, and this is Open Minds Chat Show. Bye, everybody.